It's a lot of scenery material. It's basically what I've been working on the last couple weeks. Good evening, everyone. It's Jason down in the railroad room at the Red Rock Northern HO Scale Model Railroad. It is Sunday evening, May 2nd, 2021. It has been a good 6.5 months, I think, since my last update back in October of 2020. As what usually happens in the fall and the winter, I get busy with hockey and sports and so forth, which did happen this year despite COVID difficulties. So, but spring thaw is coming well on its way, and so I've been back down in the layout room, mainly working on scenery. So if you have looked at my layout in previous videos, you know that I got rid of that plywood central look by laying down some great basic ground foam. One example of that is over here, basically just kind of a crappy covering of earth blend, some darker green, a little mix of lighter green, and kind of did that throughout the entire layout just to get rid of the plywood look. I struggle a lot with scenery myself, don't consider myself good at it. Not much of an artistic flair, but anyways, I've gotten really tired and bored of what this scenery looks like around the entire layout. So I really have been trying to work hard to improve my scenery with what I've been calling Scenery 2.0. So I'll show you some areas where I've done quite a bit of work in the last couple of weeks, but it's been so long since I've had a layout update. I think I'll just there's so much that I've done, and I'm not going to get it all tonight, but let's just start and pan around the layout. We'll start, this layout runs as a point-to-point, so we'll start in Red Rock Yard here and just kind of swing around, and I'll just talk about some things that pop up, and we'll certainly highlight the scenery. So starting in Red Rock Yard, I actually went to a train show yesterday, picked up a couple of locomotives. The two Jeep 40-2s in the back, those are Atlas Masters with ESU Lokesound of E5. Didn't expect to buy those yesterday, but a friend referred me to one of the booths, and the guy gave me just a heck of a deal on those locomotives. So I don't really need any more locomotives, but it was really hard to pass these up for the price that he gave to me. And Atlas locomotives are absolutely wonderful in my opinion, and ESU Lokesound sounds so good. And I've got some other Atlas locomotives with ESU Lokesound in them, and so I already knew that they would look and sound great. So picked those up, put some Katy couplers on them. Still got a few details to put on them. So I'll work on that a little later. Looks like I got a little railing bent in a little there. I don't know. I'll have to look at the prototypes and see if they had sunshades and windows and stuff on those. That's about the amount of the details that are in the package. So in fact, I think I got a couple other locomotives that I've purchased in the last 6 to 8 months. I need to go back through the boxes. I think there might have been one or two where I skipped putting on some of the details, so I don't want to lose sight of that, because you know, if enough of those locomotive boxes stack up over here, I'm not really going to look in these boxes again ever. So I got to go dig through a couple of those and see if there's any detailed parts left. But anyways, a couple of purchases. Also picked up this CPU rail unit off a friend of mine in Farmington. It's a, gosh, what is it, SD40 or SD40-2. It'll make a good interchange locomotive. That's a scaletrains.com. It's not a rivet counter, it's the operator series, but still a very good locomotive. All right, what else we got? A couple of cement trucks. We'll get to the cement plant soon, but I picked these up a couple of months ago, saw them online. I do have a Summit Cement plant on my layout, so I thought these looked really good, so I picked up a few of those. Let's see what's kind of panning around. I guess Got a little guy, an SD60M, running around the layout. I actually picked this up at the show yesterday too, as well as that flat car with 2 tractors. So that's a new acquisition. Now we're in Red Rock. You can see this is still one of the last areas to be developed. I did put in I'm trying a different passenger station there. Still very much stuck on how to develop this area. It's supposed to be, obviously our industries are in there. That's what's important, the plastic pellets plant and the team track. But the track plan is, says that we're supposed to cram a little kind of a city scene there, kind of like Granite Creek over here, but it's such a small scene to work with. I just have to find kind of the right buildings that would fit in there and kind of make sense. And maybe I'm just overthinking it too much and trying to cram too much in there, because I've had a lot of buildings in there. It just looks really crowded, and then I get to the point where I can't even fit a street in there, and then I don't know, I remove all the buildings again, which is kind of where we're at now. So back to a clean slate. Let's see. Let's go over here. I put in a new UP5 panel for the other side of the layout, so now people can actually stand. I can have a 3rd or 4th operator standing actually out here, and you can run trains out there. So I thought once we get out of this COVID kick, and my wife and I have actually both received both our vaccinations, maybe start having people over with some masks and operate some trains. All right, coming out of a Red Rock, you're starting to see some of the scenery improvements I've made. I added some bushes and shrubbery and foliage along the top of the rock work there, and then we get to the scene here where this is kind of where I started on the scenery improvement. So this is a massive change to this area compared to what it used to look like. It was really basically just yellow earth blend ground foam there with a few bushes, but now I've almost all of that is gone. You can't even really see any of that anymore, and I really worked at adding multiple layers of different scenery types, and of course, before I forget to mention, the layout's finally got some trees on it, and so that goes a long ways. Some of these are trees that I've been collecting over the years at train shows, buying online, etc. Some of them are from my old layout, like these pine trees here, or spruce trees. Also been working on making trees with my kids. So these kind of puff trees here with the static grass covering and on the tree armatures. We've been working on those. So you'll see those around the layout as well. My kids have helped. And this has become a camping scene. Got some deer there. Got a buck across the way there. Again, I got some scenery added in the back there. And really, I kind of worked my way left. Got a fence added here finally, so that the people camping don't fall over the retaining wall into the Prairie Co-op area. And this group of trees here kind of provides a scenery block. This is a smaller layout, and so you want to kind of have some separation between the scenes. So I kind of see this as one scene here, and then now we're down into Granite Creek, and we've got this commercial Prairie Co-op operation here. And I think this cluster of trees really kind of provides that separation, and it sort of says to me that these two scenes don't necessarily need to realistically be right next to each other. But if you use your imagination, they could be some further distance apart, and the trees blocking or providing that separation, I think kind of helps imagine that. So working our way around up into Summit, you can see, again, I've added a lot more trees and scenery. If you've seen my layout before, this just looks completely different. And I like the look. So I think the key was just multiple layers of different scenery types, bushes, shrubs, foliage. Of course, the trees help, some deadfall. I really like this stuff I've just kind of discovered, flock and turf. I mean, it's kind of a blend of all kinds of stuff, and I call it, I think it's deadfall, but it's just kind of sticks and twigs and just almost like a forest floor stuff. You sprinkle that on and it just provides a good, easy, natural variety. So I sprinkled that on in a lot of places, and I put that on as my last layer. So again, scenery additions on both sides of the track here, climbing up into Summit. And then we've got big change here at Champion Mine. We've got all kinds of trees planted there. We've got bushes there. I'm trying to give the impression that we're way up in a kind of I've got a mine going back into a mountain here. So you can see I've used trees to block the view to where that track goes back. We kind of have to use our imagination that there's a lot more capacity on that track, a lot of mining work going on that back there. Certainly more structures than I have room to show here, but the trees kind of help, I think, provide that kind of visual stimulus. So all of this scenery that you see added here, that's all new. That's all been added. I picked up some bears at the train show, some black bears. I think they're going to go back here somewhere. So I was really struggling with this scene too, trying to figure. I've tried a couple different things in here scenic wise and ended up ripping them out, didn't like them. And I think the trees, having these tall trees and different combinations of them, variety really kind of helps. I could probably plant a hell of a lot more back there, but certainly have a lot more. But this is the kind of the start, so I like where it's going. Working our way around, we're in Summit. You can see this is kind of where the scenery 2.0 has stopped. Now we're back to the yellowish bland scenery. Obviously, this is where I'll be working next. Also, I forgot to mention, I plugged this gap here. So behind this retaining wall, there was a huge air gap between the retaining wall and the sub-road bed. So got that all plugged up with pieces of foam I had cut and glued in there, so that's taken care of now and visually looks a lot better, and it's seen it. Going up here, we're in Summit. We're at Centennial Mills. Haven't really done anything here. We'll get to that kind of next. I'll tear out these stupid bushes, which looks purposefully too contrasting, and I'll give it kind of a better scenery blend. Working our way around to Summit Cement. All right, so I'm kind of proud of this scene. I came down to the layout room a couple nights ago just with no plans whatsoever right before supper, and I thought, I want to get a grade crossing in here. This is such a tight area. I need to explain where vehicles are kind of coming in and out, and they're coming in and out from off the layout, right? There's nowhere to get. We're up in the mountains here, so there's obviously no roads that lead anywhere this way. So I thought, well, we got to get a grade crossing, and they're coming from the from the other side of the tracks there. And then of course I weathered that a little bit, and while I was at it, I thought, let's get a fence in there. So I quickly put in this fence, and this time I tried a security fence. So you can see the poles that I've got in there are bent at a 45 to kind of give the impression of barbed wire. I may put some barbed wire on there. It's still, for now, looks pretty good, but that and with the scenery addition, we've got a couple of trees here. There's one that my kids and I made. It looks really good. And then we've got a forest scene here. Again, this has been completely revamped. I used to have a background building forced into that spot. That's gone. And now we've got, I think, a better looking blend of scenery and variety here to explain and show that, hey, we're up in the mountains. Mount Ugly, this is what I call Mount Ugly. Completely renovated the scenery up here with my new scenery technique. Got some trees, again, that my kids and I have made. 2 there, a couple here. Basically everything that's not a pine tree or a ponderosa pine, my kids and I made. We sat at the kitchen table upstairs and made these. They come together real quick. And then I've got to work on this. I just kind of spontaneously put in a walking path for rail fans. They can look out at trains, or I don't know, I might get some people on horseback up there, but they can do some trail riding, either look up at trains and do some rail fanning, observe the crews, or they can just simply just kind of hike in the mountains as long as they're not violating or trespassing on the railroad right away. So you can see this is all scenery that I've completely redone. I'm much happier with it now, and it certainly looks so much better with you know, with trees on it. So all right, we're crossing George's Gorge, and boy, we've got some greenery down here in George's Gorge. Previously, this was all just kind of, you know, waterbed or rock here, but we finally got some greenery going down there, shrubs, bushes, weeds. I added some more ballast that my daughter crushed out in the driveway from our landscaping rocks. Popped in a few trees here. There's one way in the back. But you know, we're getting to the point where maybe we can start adding some water here pretty soon. So again, Scenery 2.0 kind of going on here, you know, and it really got on a roll. I mean, once I found kind of the technique that I think worked for me, or it made it look a lot better, I was able to mimic that in many areas of the layout, and also, you know, kind of change it up a little bit so the entire layout doesn't look like, you know, doesn't have the same kind of scenery all over. I mean, for example, here we've got kind of a forest look, deep forest look, camping. I've toyed with the idea of actually making a tree canopy here. I just want to be careful that I don't get too obnoxious with, you know, where it looks like too many trees on purpose. So, I mean, this, maybe it's a case of less is better. I've certainly got the trees to do it. I've got hundreds and hundreds, probably 1,000 trees at this point that I can plant, but so we'll just, you know, it'll be a constant work in progress. We'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind one day and get some more trees and make that tree tunnel. I don't know. So anyways, really happy with the way that this kind of turned out. And this, again, this is really where I started a couple of weeks ago, when I was attempting to revamp the scenery. And certainly the, you know, the small details like the camping figures, which I brought from my old layout, you know, starting to add these details really, you know, that helps kind of make it pop too. So not much here going on in Prairie Co-op. I did add a little bit of sprinkling of more ground scenery here, kind of made some adjustments, but nothing too major. This is, you know, again, we're not trying to develop a forest here in Granite Creek where we're doing switching, right? The forest section is up here. If you want forest, you go to Summit, you go to Summit Cement. I don't know what Centennial Mills will look like, but it'll probably have some trees as well. And certainly you've kind of got that evergreen forest look back here at Champion Mine. But so I want to get a little less obnoxious with scenery in our city scenes. Another reason is, you know, you got tall trees in here. You know, we're working with switching cars. We got a few manual ground throws on here. We don't want to. We're gonna have hands reaching in here. Plus, I need to be able to access the rear of the layout where I'm still doing scenery work. So I can't be doing that with, you know, big ponderosa pines in my way. So we'll get a few trees down here eventually, but not until everything on the upper deck is finished, or mostly finished first. Let's see. Speaking of fences, I finally got a right-of-way fence here at Granite Creek Freight. So it's always been my intention to separate the oil siding from you know, this industry, Granite Creek Freight, that's been sitting there. So we've got kind of a right-of-way coming back here, you know, a track that can be used as a main line or a siding, with you know, an industry sitting right in the middle there. They're realistically going to have some kind of a barrier or a fence to keep people, you know, dogs and stuff from, you know, wandering right out on the right of way. So kind of got that perimeter now fenced off. This is fencing from my previous layout, which I have glued together many sections of fence. This is from that's not Midwest Plastics. I forget the name. It's a yellow and black package. I'm sure you've seen them at your hobby stores, but if you want to know what kind of fence it is, I'll answer it, and just ask a question. you know, in a follow up to the video, and I'll post a reply what it is. Anyways, I think that fence looks kind of nice. You can still see some of the holes I drilled in there for the posts. I'll go back and fill that in with some brown ballast to kind of hide that. But really, they're really even barely visible from standing back here where we run the layout. So again, small details like that really start to make the layout come alive. I found this product. I don't know. Call it sawdust, I guess. I used it over here for the hiking trail. It kind of looks like sawdust, but it also can, you know, when I glue it on, to me it kind of represents, you know, dirt, twigs, deadfall, whatever, and certainly provides contrast with the greenery. So, and you know, in this case it shows a path, but I'm using that. I have to glue that down a little better. I'm using that over here. I thought, oh geez, it's, you know, it's a natural wood product. I ought to sprinkle a whole bunch of that stuff over, you know, in my lumber mill. You know, they're gonna have wood byproduct all over the place, right? Sawdust, small pieces of wood, etc., scrap. So I sprinkled that stuff, that sawdust kind of stuff all over certain areas here, and I also spread it inside the track. You know, I just have it, the way I kind of figure is, this is an established lumber mill. They've been doing business for a long time in Granite Creek, and you know, their property is going to reflect that, all of that work that they've done. So I think it looks good. You know, makes the track certainly look different. Previously, this siding looked exactly like the Granite Creek siding, right? Code 83 track with brown ballast. And the same chalk weathering, but now we've got a, you know, a contrasting difference in the way that this particular spur looks, and of course it backs into Wagner transfer and storage. Got a little sidewalk put in for Wagner. Still need to get a whole bunch of trees here. So this is where this layout's run as a point-to-point. It starts in Red Rock, it ends here in Granite Creek. They just happen to butt right up against each other, and it's always been my plan to provide visual separation of that. Not by simply sticking up a piece of masonite or backdrop. I could do that, but I really don't want that in the way. We need to be able to access turnouts in the back. I need to access continental baking, uncouple cars, do maintenance and so forth. So I can't have a backdrop get in the way. So I'm going to provide that separation again with a thick canopy of trees here, I think, right all along here, and it's going to kind of show that, you know, where Granite Creek ends and there's some kind of a tree line or a forest, and it continues to go on to the west. And same thing, you know, for over here in Red Rock Yard, the yard office, you know, further to the east, you know, there's going to be a tree line here, canopy, shrubbery, weeds, all kinds of crap. Not really going to be able to see into Granite Creek because that's on the other end of the line, and that scenery hopefully will provide that view block. Let's see. I found a little bit better color paint, I think, for this retaining wall here. It was a dark gray, or I had painted that on the top, and it really stuck out. It was good for temporary, but I found that this concrete top coat stuff that I used for the engine service facility and the sidewalks, thought, well, that color is actually pretty close to this. I think this is Faller backdrop. So I tried that color, and I think it blends and complements the backdrop much better, at least this section. Over here, the Faller, sorry, not backdrop, the retaining wall. Over here, the retaining wall actually does get a little darker in color. You can see I've still got these screws painted the original gray. I don't know I think the gray actually matches the darker retaining wall a little better, but I've still got the tops painted with the new concrete color and this patchwork down here. I've done that, so I'm just kind of experimenting. Anything can change. I might change my mind, but You know, just kind of winging this as I go. I think that's about it for the scenery work. Again, a lot of stuff going on. One other thing I'll quickly talk about is we'll look under the layout. I have added a UR92. Now I had a UR93 that I ordered and installed. It's however defective. It's sitting over there in the corner. I need to work with Digitrax on repairing that or replacing that, but temporarily I've got my old UR92 in there, which was the previous version. It still works, but got it installed, and which means now that my radio throttles, tetherless radio throttles, can now be used to run the layout. I don't need to plug in to the Veris UP5 panels that I have all around the layout to run my trains. It's you know, it's kind of a small thing. It's not really needed for ops. Some people may prefer it once I start opening back up for ops sessions. If people have duplex throttles, they can certainly use them and bring them over, and it'll be compatible with my layout. Or they can use Wi-Fi, or they can just simply plug in with a number of tethered throttles that I have. But I wanted to get my radio throttles working again on my layout, so I did install that. All right, I'm sure there's a number of things that I'm probably missing, but I'm gonna cut this off at 27 minutes, and we'll get an update later. I'll keep working. I start coaching baseball this week, 4 nights a week. In addition to, I'm still coaching hockey in a spring league, but I'm doing my best to get down to the train room and start pounding on this. I think the layout looks, if I do say so, as the best as it ever has since I started building this layout. So I'm really pleased with the scenery improvement. You can see here, you know, this garbage yellow, you know, earth blend scenery. It just really doesn't, it looks okay, but it's certainly not good work. I mean, nature doesn't really look like that. So we need to get the scenery 2.0 going over here. And again, I just kind of got tired of looking at that crappy scenery. There's a whole lot more that can be done there, you know, putting foliage on, and I prefer the darker colored bushes and clump foliage as opposed to the lighter stuff. But you know, we'll tackle these areas next. We will be getting a road here also that crosses the right-of-way and provides access to the oil loading docks. That is per the track plan. I just hadn't put it in yet, so that'll help explain how people actually get to the oil docks, and it'll also explain, you know, what happens here when we get to the end of this road in Granite Creek. Does it just stop? No, it'll continue going, even if it's just a little gravel road crossing the, you know, service road. But yeah, anyways, very, very, very pleased with how this layout is looking now, and really, I really miss operating with you know, with friends coming over. So hopefully we can start doing that. It's been about 1.5 years, and I'm ready for you know, for operating this layout. So anyways, any comments, always welcome. Sorry for the big delay on the gap between my videos, but that's just the way it is with my schedule and the other hobbies that I have. So everyone take care, and have a wonderful week.